Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. All right. I think we're two after, so we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining today's session, AI Agents in Action for Contract Management. Contract bottlenecks can cost organizations a significant amount of time and money. Today, we're excited to introduce you to a more intelligent, more intuitive, and truly hands-free approach to contract lifecycle management, one that goes beyond basic contract repositories, document extraction, or workflow automation alone. But before we dive in, a few quick housekeeping notes. All lines are muted. If you have any questions during the session, please drop them into the Q&A box and at any time, and we'll answer as many as possible live. We do recommend that you watch the demo in full screen when we get to that point, just to get the full experience. This session is also being recorded, and we'll send the link to all attendees afterwards. And for those who prefer closed captioning in Spanish or Portuguese, a link to the alternative language option is available in the chat. We'll also be running a poll during our discussion. Your response will help tailor the conversation to what's most relevant for you. So we really appreciate it if you want to go ahead and give that a response. Now, let's get back to why you're here. Contract management has always been a critical but highly manual part of business operations. Organizations often struggle with efficiently managing contract complexity, obligations, renewals, and exceptions. Why? Because traditional contract management solutions were not built to proactively manage risks, intelligently handle exceptions, or automate complex cross-application workflows at scale. Agentic AI, however, can change all that. In this webinar, we're going to cover how AI agents can transform contract reviews and partner communications, improve efficiency in contract operations, speed up negotiations and dependent processes, and we'll also show live examples of enterprises using AI agents to streamline contract risk analysis. I'm thrilled to be joined today by two experts who will guide us through this exciting topic. Stephen Karsten, a principal sales architect, and Simon Vasquez, lead solution engineer. So let's get started. Stephen, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my name is Stefan Kersen. I'm a principal sales architect at Automation Anywhere. 6 years with the company, worked in different areas in the last 2 years, especially in agentic solution, in how AI and agentic process automation especially can help really to solve challenges in business processes across different domains. And again, today we talk especially about how we can help with agentic process automation in legal operations and in contract management.
Awesome. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. My name is Simon. If you've joined other webinars before, you've met me before, but I've been working for 10 years in consulting and IT implementations. The last 7 years in this company, looking at cognitive solutions. And 18 months ago, I started the journey with agentic process automation solutions. So super happy to be here. Please let's make this as interactive as possible. Don't feel shy to put on all your questions in the Q&A. And also, if you have any issues with the audio or anything like that, let us know through the chat. All right. We have a quick agenda for today. Today, we're going to talk about what agentic process automation is for those of you that have no idea or we're just getting started in your journey with AI, as is a buzzword everywhere nowadays. And we're actually going to look at what the contract management solutions look like, what are the benefits of looking at this process in an end-to-end solution. And we're also going to dive into the action, right? The demo and the technology for it. Ideally, we want as many questions as possible, guys. And this session is for you, not for us. So feel free to ask as many as you want. All right, awesome. So I think all that we are here, I think we all know some sort of automation and how that has happened in the future, right? To give it a little context and how we've evolved and how the market has evolved from what we used to have as manual task to scripting in terminals to RPA 20 years ago, and how that has evolved with the use of AI technologies. Right? So we all know the rule-based automation is very deterministic. This step goes first, this step goes second. And it was great and delivered a lot of value. But it was falling short because organizations have very complex processes. And the reality is that not one process in an organization is done by one business unit or one person alone. So we need to look at we need to have a holistic approach to deliver value into our organizations. So we started introducing AI into these processes so that we would have specific steps that are AI infused, so that the processes that were deterministic start to be a little bit more robust and more powerful to deal with complex processes. This is where we added document automation, process mining, task mining, and the likes, right? And we also have the ability, of course, to connect to any AI services. Where we are today is agentic automation, which is actual autonomous enterprise, is autonomous agents that understand the end-to-end solution given one goal. And we're going to go into that process as we go along. But what this is that agentic process automation is a full end-to-end process that enables you to understand the context of what you're trying to accomplish, the tools that you need to use to accomplish them, and what is the outcome that as a business we need to accomplish. So we're talking about internal policies, rules, knowledge of your own processes and how you deal with them, flows, scripting tools. So it's the orchestration of all those different components into actually making them a solution driven, all right, for a company. So what agentic process automation is basically an automation framework that is able to use different tools at different points in time based on the reasoning to deliver an outcome. It could be, in this case, accelerate the contract management cycle, or it could be processing a claim, or it could be categorizing support tickets, for example, right? And dealing with those. So just before I hand over to Stefan, I wanted to make a quick level setting for all of us, because a lot of people and a lot of the market is buzzing with AI agent terminology, right? So you see Salesforce has an AI agent, ServiceNow has an AI agent. A lot of different companies have specific AI agents. The big differentiator at Automation Anywhere, agentic process automation, is that these agents, for example, think of ChatGPT, is great for specific narrow tasks, right? But it's not looking at an end-to-end process. It's not going to orchestrate across all your applications, all your different teams, or your different geographies. And that's the real reason why agentic process automation is such a powerful tool and a powerful framework, because it allows you to orchestrate multiple agents to deliver an end-to-end outcome. And contract management is just one use case for that. So if that makes sense for everyone, as I said, please make sure you drop your questions in the chat. Now, here is where we actually see a lot of AI agents, whether it's from horizontal solutions in service operations, finance, or verticals. We're seeing it more and more demand from the businesses to start understanding the capabilities of the tools and also the value that it can drive in organizations and how it can transform the way that you do things rather than just automating tasks. So I'm going to hand over to Stefan. We're going to go into why this is important in contract management. Stefan, over to you.
Thank you, Simon. I think really what Simon was talking about really is showing there's real value that comes from agentic automation. And let's begin with looking into the current challenges. We had many meetings, we had many, let's say, demonstrations to what we are able now with agentic automation. And the feedback from legal teams was really they are overburdened with manual tasks. In fact, about 60 to 80% of their time is spent on routine contract reviews that not only slows down operations, but also increases the risk of human errors. You can miss something in a document which has 60, 80, or 100 pages. That's really a critical risk that often is missed, about 30% of them to exact, which can lead to compliance issues and significant liabilities if you don't are able to identify any risk in a contract. And again, if we talk about contract, right, it's not just, again, the 60, 80 100-page documents, even let's say an NDA, which again, if you don't have an NDA, you can't continue a business or relationship with one of your business partners. This is again all you have to check day by day. On average, organizations lose about around 2% of revenue to penalties arising from pure contract compliance and limited visibility into obligations which you find in these contracts and NDAs. And with legal costs rising about 25 to 40% each year, many businesses are looking for smarter, more scalable solutions. All of this makes one thing clear. There's a real and urgent need to automate contract management. And beyond this, an AI agent and agentic process automation are a key to achieving this. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at how AI agent can address these challenges with more precision and impact when it comes to cost to run legal operations and cost, again, to avoid any of these fines. So first, legal teams, again, spending 70% of their time just analyzing contracts. And an AI agent can extract and analyze contract data, reducing the finalization time by over 50%. That's a huge gain in productivity. If an AI agent can tell you, this is compliant, I have found any issues, and again, the demo in a few minutes will show this again, how AI agent can help this. The second is non-compliant contracts continue to cause fines and rework. And again, AI agent can detect any discrepancies by comparing new contracts with contract that has been improved before, because that's the knowledge you have in your company. You know these contracts are compliant, and if you receive a new contract or NDA, these AI agents just know they have the knowledge, right, and to able to compare it. And again, that's helping you to reduce costs and penalties by up to 70%. Third, with contract volumes growing up, legal departments are stretching thin. AI agents can accelerate negotiations from weeks to days, helping unblock downstream processes, right? As I mentioned before, if you don't have an NDA in place, you can't continue a business relationship. You need, again, in different areas like supply chain, in finance, and so on. So the result is faster cycle times, lower risk, and significant cost savings. Next slide, please. So let's explore the top 5 agents or AI agentic solutions we have discussed, we have implemented for our customers in the last few years. And the first, again, we also show a demo for this, is contract review and a redlining agent. So it flags risky clauses, such as red lines, and supports smarter legal decisions based on the knowledge these AI agents have based on contracts and NDAs and so on you have approved in the past. Another one is the regulatory agent. It ensures contracts you want to sign are compliant with, again, internal standards and, more important, with external regulations, right? And we show another demo that shows you, even in areas outside of contract, you can use this approach to identify if you have any issues with other documents, like an invoice, a sales order, and so on. If these documents are compliant with regulations you will find on a government website, for example. Next one is contract data extraction and validation agent, because sometimes you need that information inside a contract. You have to capture it and verify it to move this information into, let's say, a contract management solution, which again, you can do with an AI agent very easily. And the last one in here is, so the next one is legal intake and triage agent, because you get so many requests from your business partners, internal requests. So again, this triage agent will be able to find the right people, the right process to solve these or to work on these inquiries you get, again, from external or internal parties, and again, helps you to reduce the time to solve these requests you get from your, again, your partners or internally. Then the knowledge and precedent retrieval agent that surfaces relevant past cases and templates to maintain consistency and reduce the work. So all of these agents, AI agents, work together, creating a system that is faster and more consistent and less reliant on manual effort, because they can automate more because they have the, let's say, the intelligence, and at the same time they have also the knowledge about what again is a compliant contract, what we can accept, and so on. So it's again not just about Gen AI, it's all about the knowledge we can add to these AI agents. Next slide, please. So what we'll show in the next few minutes, Simon will show in the next few minutes, is an example, one of the top 5 AI agents, which again, the contract review and redlining agent. Though we have implemented these for customers where, again, they receive contracts, and then we're talking about either an NDA, let's say a 10-page NDA, or it's a 90-page doc contract. And what happens is most of the time you have negotiations with your customer or business partner, right? You send an NDA, receiving back with some changes. Maybe they weren't happy with the termination clause. It has changed it. But now, how do you know what have they changed? We have to read the document again and again to identify any changes, but at the same time also find out if these changes are still compliant and can be accepted. So what we're seeing here is it can run autonomous. That again, it retrieves all the information from an email that it received from a partner, identifies what does they ask. In this case, yeah, we receive a changed NDA, and then we have even capabilities with all the information from an unstructured document like an NDA or contract. And then the most important part is the compliance part of compliance AI agent. Now, with the knowledge, what is compliant? He knows actually we can accept a termination clause where we accept, again, a period of 2 years. But again, let's say, assume a partner is asking, can we extend it to 5 years? And then the AI agent knows, no, we can't. That's not, again, part of our compliance framework that we can accept it. It's too long. But in this case, AI agent will identify this change. It will identify it's not compliant, will ask a contract manager or a compliance officer to review. And they can decide, right, if they can accept it or not. Let's assume they're not accepting it. And that's, again, another important part, because we're not talking about a single automation. We're talking about an end-to-end process automation. The next part, the communication AI agent, knows everything about the whole process. It knows all the information about the contract. It knows all the information about the decision, what hasn't, it's not compliant, and so on. Everything is known to this communication AI agent. Though this agent can, based on the process context, can generate the right response back to the business partner, telling him why we can't accept this, what maybe has to be changed, and so on. If necessary, still a legal assistant can validate before we send it to a business partner. But the goal of this whole contract review and redlining agent is to really run this more autonomously, right? Receiving changes, receiving contracts, and then again, do all these additional things like extracting data, check the compliance, communication back to the business partner to tell them, again, we can't accept, we can accept, but again, based on all the information we're collecting, this again, AI can run autonomously. And again, Simon will show this in a demo, how this will look like, again, can help legal teams to minimize the manual efforts. Over to you, Simon. You are mute.
Thank you. Classic rookie mistake. Awesome. Perfect. All right. So let's think of Fiona, right? Fiona is a legal assistant working on her company's procurement team, for example, and she's been negotiating NDA contracts with a potential vendor. Let's call this vendor Alpha Technologies. As a legal assistant, normally we spend a lot of time handling different document versions, as Stefan was mentioning, trying to identify changes, and most of that is done very manually, even like by emails or the communication with the organization or your business partner, right? So now we're gonna see how that will change. So now let's think about, we're gonna imagine and we're gonna see how Fiona has been given access to an AI agentic process automation from Automation Anywhere. So I'm going to log in into my sourcing application. And here we can actually see a couple of details, right? We can see our entire life cycle for the contract management. And if we just scroll down all the way to the bottom, we can see that Fiona has been working on an NDA with Alpha Technologies. We've seen that also there's 5 versions of this document already proceeding, right? So that takes a lot of time. And it's honestly, it's an NDA. It should be something that is straightforward and accelerated through our life cycle. But this is impeding from us to actually go into business with this business partner, impacting our revenue, impacting our sourcing, imparting our inputs. Whatever it is that we're doing with this business partner is actually being hindered by the fact that our cycles are not as smooth. But now all of that is changed, right? So what we're going to see is that here in the notifications in Coupa, we've seen that a new version has been received, which is version number 5, and our email agent has already processed that version in advance, right? And it created a task for Fiona inside the actual contract management application. So if I go here, I see a lot of automations that as Fiona, I can trigger on demand, like ending contract or investigate contracted services, or even create an e-signature or get an approval. But in this case, I can see that there's a notification, and that's the task that the email agent has created for me. So let's dive into that. We can see the email agent has already validated that and has sent that to extraction. So now we're using document automation in the background to intelligently understand not only the contract, but also the type of contract, because as you know, you could have maybe a DORA ICT contract versus another type. So you need to understand these nuances to be able to assess the compliance accordingly and actually capture the data that you will require so that you can perform that job. Now, what Fiona is being asked here is to review that extraction. So as you can see, we can see that the business partner has added their logo. We can see that document extraction is in an overall confidence of 90%. And it can and has the ability to extract different portions of the contract, whether it's specific entities like the receiving party or the receiving address, or things more specific like entire clauses for the termination clause. In this case, I want to drive your attention to the fact that there is a 5-year period as a termination clause on this new version. All right. So that seems all okay. As Fiona, I can change the information based on what I see here, or simply just click on submit and continue my process. What the extraction agent is going to do is going to pass all that data to the contract compliance agent to start understanding, and as Stefan mentioned, redlining those key pieces of information to understand if there are any gaps, any things that have been changed that are not compliant. So I don't have to do that manually. So we can forget all that paperwork that we used to do as high as I can. Now, it seems that the contract compliance agent has found something that it was worth escalating. So based on the escalation and the nature of the escalation, you have a rerouting agent to actually send that to the right person, whether it's just your manager or it could be a compliance officer tier 3 or tier 2. So let's look at John, which is our compliance officer. John receives a notification on Microsoft Teams because he spends a lot of time working and helping people through our entire lifecycle journey. And when he opens his task, he can see the original document. Notice that the original document does not have the new version that it was just sent that had a logo of our business partner. And it seems that the compliant agent has run all the checks, and it seems that everything was okay except for the termination clause. I can also manually review this, right? If I can go to my document version and I can see this is the one that we received from which we extracted the data. But let's focus on the original one and see what the termination clause is about. It seems that the termination clause of the NDA was changed from 2 years to 5 years. And our agent is telling us why that is not compliant with the internal policies that we have, right? In this case, let's make sure that this is right. So this is the original contract. If I go to the termination clauses, you can see that the effect period, it is indeed 5 years, and it's on clause number 5. Now, if I look at the document version 5, the termination clause is at clause number 3, and it does say that it's a period of 5 years. So it seems like our document, our agent is right on point. So let's reject this change. As you can see, we also have the ability to interact via a chat interface with the same sort of module that you saw before, but now we can actually do that with natural language, which facilitates our things. So we can say reject and add a little comment, which is termination clause not compliant. And that will draft a communication that has all the knowledge of the entire end-to-end process and all the data that we have run through. We can look at this for review, we can edit it, or we could just simply send that to our business partner, right? So let's send this for the time being. The communication agent, as we can see, there's many agents in the mix, is actually going to send that communication directly to our business partner with the actual right contract level to understand what has been done. Now, as you can see, the review has been completed for this. The AI agent has dispatched the communications to our business partner, and we can call this a day, right? So what used to take hours of the legal assistant and compliance officer now has been reduced to probably 10 to 12 minutes. Now, this is all good, but the reality is that AI agents today, a lot of companies are struggling to measure the value of AI, and it's okay, right? We're in the process. AI is new to everyone. AI has been in the mix for a long time, but only 2 years ago, it became so democratized to everyone. So what we're going to see is how is Exteller, the company in procurement from where Fiona works, is actually measuring the value of the contract management solution that they have bought. So if we look at the initiatives and we dive into contract management, you can see all the different departments, and you can see metrics and KPIs that are related to those. In this case, I see all of them because of my rights, but you could also be specifically for one team. So let's dive into the contract management. When we build an AI agent, we normally build business cases. So you can see here the total expected annual benefit versus the ones that has been realized. Why is that different? Is because every time that this agent runs, that adds value into the company, right? So that's why it's a real-time data tracker for our AI agents. But let's look at how that really drives the needle, because productivity is just a small percentage. Saving hours is not enough anymore. So here, we can see the KPIs that are most interesting for Exteller, and this can be customizable for everyone. But what's really, really cool about this is that you can actually identify trends and measure versus where you were maybe, let's say, 6 months or 8 months ago, where you had no AI agents. So as you can see, the finalization time for contracts or agreements such as the NDA, it used to take about 30 days. And now their current stat is at 5 days. So you have an 83% finalization time frame that is being reduced. You can also manage your contract management costs pretty quickly, and you can see that the compliance issues have been decreasing over the past 6 months. Now, this data, every time that the agent runs, changes, which is really good because it provides visibility on what's important for us, whether we are in procurement or we are actually reviewing the contracts when we are dealing with finance or invoices, which we're going to see in a second. It truly drives business value rather than just focusing on the hours saved to Fiona or the compliance officer, which I think is really important for the purposes of today. Now, let me go back to our presentation. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone, and if not, please feel free to drop your comments on it. All right, we're gonna launch, I think, a quick poll just to understand where you guys are in the contract. Now, what we have is that, finding these use cases in orchestrating the entire end-to-end processes is sometimes difficult, right? A lot of companies, to be exact, like 85% of companies today, they don't know where to start. And those that have started their agentic process automation journey, are really struggling to find those big end-to-end use cases. So what you see on the screen right now is, if you want, we can contact you so we can actually run an automation clinic free of charge for you guys to understand and help you start that journey or mature within that journey. So please hit yes or no, and we can carry on.
Hey, Simon, right now we're seeing the contract compliance demo slide.
Yeah, that is fine.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we can change it to here. Yeah,
thanks.
awesome, perfect. So what does that mean? If you actually accept for this session, then what happens is that we will come to understand like where you are, understand the impact that agentic process automation will deliver in the area that you would like us to focus on. And if you don't know where to focus on, we can actually come to you and help you set up a program that will help you start your journey in agentic process automation, right? And this is something that actually we do for a lot of our customers today. The outcomes of that, you will know exactly where to start, what a good scope for AI agents look like, and what that process is. And you will probably have at the end of it a quick, a minimum viable prototype within only 3 weeks. So let us know there on the poll, and then probably we give it like another 10 seconds and we can continue. Awesome. I think we can close it now. Perfect. All right. As Stefan was mentioning, we see contract management in terms of legal operations, right? But a lot of contract management happens across other departments and business units and also processes. So I'm going to hand over to Stefan to see how those contracts actually impact finance in invoice compliance as well, and invoice processing, which is a very common use case that probably all of you have heard about.
All right, thank you, Simon. Yeah, what we show in the next few minutes is, again, beyond contract management, because you have to check compliance in every domain. And what we're seeing here right now is just an AI agent that is able, based on, if you can click through all the next animation steps, Simon, yeah, it's just complete. So it shows really that an AI agent is goal-driven. It mimics, again, what people may be doing today. They have a goal, right? They have to check if there's an invoice or any other document you're receiving from a business partner is compliant. And if we talk about compliance, right, you have internal compliance policy, but at the same time, you also have regulation that come from governments that tell your business partner, that tell you how you have to design and what kind of information should be in the document, what is a valid, what is a compliant document. So this AI agent is doing multiple things, which you probably know from Invoice. He's doing a three-way match. It will check the delivery information. It will check the PO. So as again, there's a match with the invoice data. But the most important part when we talk about compliance is now this AI agent can decide to go again to do an internal compliance check, very similar to what we have seen in other demo, but also can do a regulation check, right? Can check based on the knowledge if this, again, this document, in this case, it's invoice, is compliant. Because all this information, you can go to your government site. I have checked with UK government, Germany, and so on. All of these have websites which explain what should be the invoice. And again, this again can be used. You can use this knowledge to add an AI agent, though you don't have to train it. It's just there, right? You just have to have a website. And our solution is able to retrieve that information from these websites or document. But not really a lot of training needed. Just you have to tell the AI agent, there's a website where you find all the information from these different governments to check compliant. And again, if it's not compliant, still the human can handle the exception. And the next 2 minutes, again, we see a demo, how it looks like, again, if an AI agent will check the compliance of an invoice, and he's following a plan, right? At the same time, it's not just a goal, but he has a plan to complete. If you complete the next steps in the slide, Simon. So it will follow the plan. It will run autonomously. It will decide based on the input, based on the goal, how to execute that plan, and then again come back with a compliance status. And again, if you go to the next slide, that again will show in the next demo.
Just before that, just to make sure, Stefan, what you're saying, right? That means that is the AI agent actually following a step by step, or is it not? Is it, or
No,
it's
yeah,
clear?
it's based again, it decides, right? Like a human, right? It has to check something, like you see in here. Maybe I check the delivery information first, and then I check the PO information, or vice versa. Again, the AI agent is doing it in the same way, based on the plan, based on the goal, based on the data it receives. It will decide how to achieve that goal. So it's very similar what people are doing if they have to complete more complex business tasks.
Awesome. So actually, that means that nowadays we can rely less on deterministic flows and more on
Right. Yeah.
deterministic flows.
Yeah. Well, how people are working, right? In complex business tasks, they're not following every time an exact plan, right? They have a goal they have to achieve, and where similar an AI agent will do this.
Awesome. Phenomenal. All right. I'm gonna launch the demo and let me know if that is on.
Agentic process automation is about orchestrating the work of humans, AI agents, and automations by using a process layer. This process will coordinate the work to extract invoice data, check data compliance, and create a supplier invoice in SAP. By using the Automation Copilot, which is embedded in SAP Fiori, Sue, an accounts payable clerk, uploads an invoice into Automation Copilot, ready for compliance checking. An AI agent powered by generative AI automatically extracts all relevant data from the invoice. Sue reviews the extracted data. This optional human-in-the-loop step ensures accuracy and builds trust in the automation. Next, an AI compliance agent steps in. It checks the invoice against the latest UK government regulations and confirms that this document is fully compliant. Sue sees the compliance status, reads the AI agent explanation, and sees that the invoice is compliant. Another invoice is uploaded. As before, the first AI agent extracts the data, and the second AI agent checks the compliance with UK regulations. This time, the AI agent flags a compliance issue. The VAT ID is missing. It also provides the exact citation from UK regulation for the clerk to review. AI agents streamline data extraction and proactively detect compliance issues, leveraging both internal policy and government regulations to help ensure every invoice meets the mark.
Awesome. There's many applications there's many applications for contract management, specifically across our entire organization. If you think about invoices, for instance, you could also match the invoice terms or payment terms versus the contract that you actually agree with your partner and understand if that's being compliant or not, if it matches or not. What happens if you pay an invoice late, right? What happens if you're not paying your invoice in time? Does that mean that I'm liable for fees? What happens if your products don't come to the warehouse in due time? Can we actually go into a litigation, or can we get commercial rebates with our business partners because they're not being compliant with the contract? And all of these things do not really have visibility, but it helps boost organizational productivity and value. That being said, I think we can
We have two
go
questions.
into...
I can maybe have some time. Maybe we answer two of the questions we received. So one is for contract management, is the AI agent able to check if a sub agreement is compliant with, I think that's a master service agreement. Yeah, it can, right? We can. That's what we're doing, and we have shown in the first demo, where it knows again all the clauses, all the paragraphs from a master agreement, and then it can actually check again based on this information. If you tell the AI agent how it should do it, right, and it has some knowledge, it likes the agreement, it can check again if this sub agreement is compliant.
Awesome.
Now, another question is your tool including a contract repository, or can the agent connect to an existing one like Ariba and so on? Yeah, it can. Right, that's again, we have seen in the second demo. I can connect to a website. I can connect to an external application or internal application, in this case, when we talk about Ariba and so on. If the information I need to verify is in this information, in the system or in a repository, like if it's stored in SharePoint or anything else, we can use this information to add knowledge to an AI agent that he knows what is compliant and what he has to check to identify any issues with a contract or a document.
Awesome. So you can actually to summarize that, it's the tool will be able to dynamically adjust the knowledge based on that repository, right? Whether that sits on Ariba, whether that sits on SharePoint, or a database, or even, as you saw in the demo, a complete like PDF, right? You don't need to have all these contracts in your management systems very structured for us to be able to do that. There's another question here, Stefan. Awesome, perfect.
Yeah, should I? Okay.
Yeah.
Can the agent pull useful data and fill it into a contract repository? Yes, that's one of the use cases we have implemented for a customer, where we not just check the compliance, but retrieve the data, like again, which in this case about services, right? So it was a contract which defined a set of services, and then we retrieve that information, the service description, the amount, and a few other things that we were able then to move to an internal contract management system. So again, yes, something we did for our customer.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I have a couple of questions we also received anonymously. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean.
Yeah. So this one you answered, I think, partially with your question around how does it connect to existing repositories, but how in general does Automation Anywhere integrate across various contract management platforms?
Sami,
Yeah.
one for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things. We're completely application agnostic, right? Our true differentiator and power lies on the orchestration of different applications. So we can connect to applications in multiple ways, depending on the nature of the application. If you have databases, we can connect to those databases. If your applications could be, for example, a mainframe, we can connect to that. If your applications are just UI based, meaning there's no APIs enabled or no databases access, then we can actually go through the user interface to connect to that application. And lastly is via APIs. We are about to launch something pretty cool. And it's, for example, the ability, as Stefan was mentioning, the ability to check things online. You can actually today, and it's already available for all of you, is a web crawler, right? So now you don't need to actually go and build that automation, but it's extracting the data from websites, such as it could be the UK government, it could be Germany, it could be a flight, right? Anything to understand the data that website and make decisions dynamically. Hopefully that answers your question.
There's another live, maybe do this first question. Is the agent capable of reviewing all contract documents to identify all those that do not contain a specific clause? Yes. So actually the first demo that Simon was showing, where we saw what has been retrieved, this first AI agent would notify a user, I couldn't find this one. Or you can just, again, all the documents or contracts that do not have, like in this case, a termination clause is not included. An AI agent can, again, identify these and, again, either notify a user or move it to a different folder, whatever you prefer. But again, yeah, an AI agent would be able to identify if a specific clause, like in this case, termination clause we have seen in the first demo is missing. Again, AI agent will detect this.
Awesome. Thank you. There's another one, I think, Stefan, that you can take, which is, are you using the contract of your clients to train your AI, and what data keep or use for AI training purpose?
Yeah,
What data do you keep?
that's again interesting, because what we use is AI technology which does not require any training. right? So it's, again, we are not using any documents which you're using our solution to, again, achieve these results we have seen in these two demos. We're using generative AI to retrieve that, but we add knowledge. This is not a training of this. It's about knowledge you have. Like you have standards of what is compliant in contracts. The other demo has shown knowledge you find on a government website. You define these sources, add this to the knowledge base, which you manage. We are not using this, again, this knowledge for any training purposes. You control, again, which knowledge you're adding to an AI agent. And it's not about training, it's about adding knowledge to an AI agent, which is different than what you have maybe done in the past when we talked about AI. It's not about training, it's about, again, using Gen AI, it's using about a knowledge base where for a solution where you can, again, add knowledge in different ways. Again, Simon mentioned a web crawler on a website, going to an application like Ariba and so on, where you find all the knowledge which are people using today, right, to make decisions. And we providing the same knowledge to an AI agent to make the same decisions that people are doing today.
Awesome. So long story short, we do not use client data to train our models. We use generative AI to drive conclusions from the knowledge that you decide to add onto your knowledge base, whether is that a policy, a manual, or maybe a regulation.
Right. It's not machine learning that people have done in the past. It's
Yeah.
quicker to
Awesome.
deploy, and you get the results much faster than in the past with traditional, let's say, traditional AI approaches, which has been used in the last, let's say, 10 years.
Great. Is there any other question that you may have, Sean, or are we good to?
Yeah, I have two others here. Speaking of generative AI, are the LLM services offered by Automation Anywhere specific to one vendor, or are they compatible with multiple vendors?
I can take that. Same as we are application agnostic, we actually can use multiple vendors. If you don't have an AI strategy today, we can provide you with credits, but normally you can actually bring your own key. So if your company has a multi-vendor strategy, meaning you're a customer of Amazon or you're a customer of Microsoft or Google or Mistral, we can use all of those AI services to create your agentic process automation flows.
Excellent.
So we're not vendor specific.
Gotcha. I just got one more here, if that's okay, guys. Can the Copilot be embedded in applications other than Coupa?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
seen, again, to Coupa, we have seen in the demo video as well as SAP S4, could be even Outlook, could be Teams, right? The preferred application, right, for these users, we can embed this. If someone's working most of the time in Teams, we can embed. If it's working in SAP or Coupa, we can embed Copilot into these applications.
Awesome. The idea with that is that, users have to manage a lot of applications in their day-to-day. We want to provide a solution that it's seamless. So we don't want to add another application on top for them to manage and learn. So we want to go where their work is normally done or where they feel more familiarized with. Awesome. If that's all, guys, then thank you so much for joining. Feel free to reach out and request a demo. We have a couple of links in the chat as well, and as well, do not shy away to drop us to drop again in for the next webinar, as you can see. All right. Thank you so much for everything. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.